we'll be doing the first mass movement organized under Gandhiji's leadership. And this is the Khilafat, the non-cooperation movement. Now, before we do the first mass movement, let us go back to the movements already organized by Gandhiji. First of all, on coming back to India, he had organized three movements of Satyagraha. These were localized. They were the movements of those regions only, Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad. And then he had taken up the Rowlatt Satyagraha against the proposed unjust Rowlatt Act. Even though the Rowlatt Satyagraha had been a widespread movement as compared to the Champaran, Kheda and Ahmedabad movements, yet it was still limited to certain towns and mostly to towns and cities. Gandhiji now felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India, and he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and the Muslims closer together. One way of doing this, he felt, was by taking up the Khilafat issue. Now, Khilafat means going against someone, किसी के खिलाफ जाना. So, the First World War, which had been fought from 1914 to 1918, had ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey. Once again, recall that the First World War had been fought between two rival groups. One was the Allied powers, the other was the Axis or the Central powers. Britain had belonged to the Allied powers and Turkey had belonged to the Axis or the Central powers. The Allied powers had won the First World War and the Axis powers had lost the First World War. So, Ottoman Turkey had been defeated. There were rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Emperor, and the Ottoman Emperor was considered to be the spiritual head of the Islamic world or the Khalifa. All the Muslims throughout the world used to consider Turkey to be their spiritual head. To defend the Khalifa's temporal powers, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March 1919. A younger generation of Muslim leaders like Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali began discussing with Gandhiji about the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. Now both of them, both the communities, the Muslims and the Hindus, were keen on organizing a movement against the British. So the Muslims approached Gandhiji that why don't we start a combined movement against the British? Gandhiji was more than happy. He saw this as an opportunity to bring the Muslims and the Hindus together under a common umbrella of a unified national movement. So in 1920, the sessions of the Congress took place in September and December. Now, ever since the Congress had been formed in 1885, there had been annual sessions of the Congress. The sessions of the Congress were held every year. And every year they used to have a different president and they used to discuss a lot of things. So every year there used to be an annual session. But in 1920, there had been two sessions of the Congress. One was in September 1920, Calcutta, and the other was in December 1920 at Nagpur. Both these are asked in the exams also for MAP. So at the Calcutta session of the Congress in September 1920, he convinced the other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as for Swaraj.